I, Shun Ruojing, the only daughter of the current Prime Minister, Shun Huaraid, the #1 female tyrant in the capital. My life motto is, if it can be solved with action, never waste words. My father, a literary master of his generation. I drove him to take 5 doses of heart-saving pills in 3 days. He often points at my nose, deeply pained and exasperated. I dug my ear and brandished the ancestral sword from the previous dynasty in his study with such vigor that it whistled through the air. My father clutched his chest, he collapsed. My husband, Pei Yang, is the top scholar in the imperial examinations and the most handsome man in the capital. What a pity, she's a sickly one. Leaning against the wall, he handed me the sword tassel while coughing. Madam, the sword tassel is crooked. It affects your performance. We have been married for 10 years and have a son named Pei Heng. My son perfectly inherited his father's brains and my, well, temper. He could memorize the Analects in half an hour. He could also hang the grand tutor's 3 grandsons in a tree in half an hour. My life has passed 28 years amidst my father's fuming rage, my husband's frail support, and my son's chaotic antics. Until that day, an imperial edict has arrived at the palace. It summons me, my father, General Lin Wei, and his daughter Lin Suwen to enter the palace immediately. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the incident from the day before yesterday, when I beat up the brother-in-law of the Marquis of Anley, has been exposed? This shouldn't be happening. I was very careful with my strikes. I only broke 3 of his ribs. Arrived at the Golden Yuan Hall, my father and General Lin Wei, one the head of civil officials, the other the pinnacle of military generals. They stood on either side, their faces darker than the bottom of a pot. Lin Suwen stood behind her father, dressed in plain white clothes. So frail she looked as if a gust of wind could knock her over. When I saw her, I was reminded of my father's constant nagging about other people's children, and an inexplicable irritation washed over me. The emperor sat on his dragon throne, holding a yellowed letter in his hand, his expression indescribable. Minister Shen, Minister Lin, I have here a blood-written testament from a midwife on her deathbed. She said, 28 years ago, she mistakenly switched your daughters at birth. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. My father, Chancellor Shen, I wanted to perform an on-the-spot death right then and there. He pointed at me, his finger trembling like a leaf in the autumn wind. She's not my daughter. Then he turned to Lin Suwen. His eyes were filled with affection and relief, and a kind of ecstatic joy that said, this is what my real daughter is truly like. General Lin Wei. A fierce man capable of killing a tiger with his bare hands. At this moment, his eyes reddened. He looked at Lin Suwen, then at me. That look in his eyes was exactly like someone who had carefully cultivated a rare orchid for 28 years, only to be told that it was actually a cactus. And his real orchid was being treated as garlic in someone else's home. I ignored them. I stared at Lin Suwen. She was also looking at me. The two of us. One is a delicate flower nurtured within a military family. One is a thorny wild grass grown in the Chancellor's mansion. Absurd. This is utterly absurd. The Emperor gave a light cough, breaking the eerie silence. The evidence is here. The eunuch presented 2 brocade boxes. In one box was the longevity lock I had worn since childhood. Engraved on it was the character Jing. In another box was Lin Suwen's hairpin. The head of the pin was made of a smooth piece of jade, engraved with the character Wen. The midwife's blood-written letter made it perfectly clear. In the chaos of war back then, she had been flustered and mistakenly swapped the tokens for the 2 children. And from then on, the mistake was perpetuated. General Lin picked up my longevity locket, his hands trembling. This was personally made by my wife. She said she hoped our daughter would overcome all dangers and grow up safely. My father picked up that jade hairpin, tears streaming down his aged face. This was my wife's favorite piece of jade. She said she hoped our daughter would cultivate a calm mind, be eager to learn, and become an accomplished woman of her generation. Well, the truth is out. I, Shun Ruojing, was supposed to be Lin Jing. She, Lin Suwen, was supposed to be Shun Wen. My father immediately knelt before the emperor, weeping and pleading, "Your Majesty, please forgive this old minister for failing to teach his daughter properly. I am willing to immediately acknowledge Suwen, no. Shun Wen, as a member of the family. As for this rebellious," he faltered, looking at me, momentarily unsure of what to call me. General Lin, being straightforward, roared out, "My daughter will naturally return to the general's residence with me." The emperor rubbed his temples, clearly also troubled by this grand drama. "Since the truth has come to light, let everyone return to their rightful places. From this day forward, Shun Ruojing shall reclaim the Lin family name, and Lin Suwen shall reclaim the Shun family name. So it is decreed." With the imperial decree issued, the dust has settled. My father, oh no, now he is Chancellor Shun. He practically rushed over, grabbing Lin Suwen's hand, asking if she was warm and well. "My dear child, you have suffered all these years in the general's manor." Lin Suwen's father, General Lin, turned pale with anger behind her. "What do you mean by suffering in the general's residence?" His daughter, Lin Wei's daughter, could practically walk sideways through the capital without anyone daring to stop her. General Lin, holding back his anger, walked up to me and looked me up and down. That look, 3 parts disdain, 7 parts, even more disdain. "You, come with me." He squeezed the words out through gritted teeth. Before I could speak, a weak voice came from outside the hall. "Father-in-law, please hold on." My husband, Pei Yang, supported by a servant, walked in, taking 3 steps and gasping for breath. His face pale, he shielded me behind him. "Ruojing is my wife. Whether her surname is Shun or Lin, that will never change." General Lin's face grew even darker. He glared at Pei Yang as if looking at a weak and fragile bean sprout. "You're the top scholar. How could my daughter, Lin Wei's daughter, marry a sickly weakling like you who gets out of breath after just a few steps?" Pei Yang smiled faintly and coughed twice. "General Lin, Ruojing has been married to me for 10 years. The situation developed faster than I had imagined. The emperor's decree was for each to return to their proper place." These 4 words meant far more than just changing a surname. The next day, 2 massive carriages stopped right in front of the Prime Minister's residence and the General's residence, respectively. "Are they planning to even swap our homes?" I stood at the entrance of the Prime Minister's residence, staring blankly at the place I had lived in for 28 years. In my courtyard, the king proti I brought back from the western regions was still planted there. My study still houses the collection of 18 different weapons I've gathered over the years. My son, Pei Heng, clung desperately to my leg, crying his eyes out with snot and tears streaming down his face. "Mother, I don't want to go to that general's mansion full of muscle-bound brutes. They definitely won't let me study. They'll force me to practice with broadswords." My husband, Pei Yang, still looking as sickly as ever, draped a cloak over my shoulders. "Madam, everything is packed. Your sword, horsewhip, and that set of dark iron armor, I've packed them all for you." I looked at him, feeling a bit unsettled in my heart. "Aren't you going to stop me?" Pei Yang shook his head and started coughing again. "The emperor's command cannot be disobeyed. Besides," he paused, "I also want to see if you'll turn the general's residence upside down." Me, "Thank you for having so much confidence in me." On the other side, at the entrance of the general's residence, there was also an atmosphere of gloom and despair. Lin Suwen. "Oh no, it's Shun Wen now," surrounded by her burly older brothers and sisters-in-law. She wept, her tears falling like raindrops from pear blossoms. "Father, mother, I don't want to leave." General Lin's eyes, fierce as a tiger's, brimmed with tears as he patted her shoulder. "Good child, It is I who have failed you. Rest assured, if anyone in the Shun family dares to bully you, just tell me, and I will lead my troops to trample the Chancellor's residence flat." Shun Xiong, who was standing nearby, twitched his face. He silently retracted the hand he had just extended to acknowledge their kinship. Shun Wen's husband, the swift cavalry general Hua Cheng, a man standing 8 feet tall, built like a bear, was also red-eyed at that moment. He looked at Shun Wen, then at Pei Yang, who was being supported by the maid, his eyes filled with sympathy. "Sister-in-law, oh no, Madam Shun, don't worry, if Lord Pei ever gets bullied in the future, just tell me, I can take down 3 with 1 punch." Pei Yang politely cupped his hands in salute. "Thank you, General Hua, but usually it's my wife who does the hitting." Hua Cheng, and so, amidst the chaos and utter pandemonium, Shun Wen and I completed the exchange of our lives. I moved into the general's manor with my sickly husband and our talented son, skilled in both literary and martial arts, though mostly martial. She moved into the Prime Minister's manor with her brawny husband and a whole brood of formidable children. The capital city was in an uproar. On my first day moving into the general's residence, I gave my so-called father a warning to welcome me. General Lin specially held a banquet at the training ground and invited all his military colleagues. After 3 rounds of drinks, he got drunk and pointed at the weapon rack in the field, full of pride and ambition. "My daughter must be the best of the best. Jinga, go on. Show your father a set of spear techniques and let them see what you're made of." All eyes were fixed on me. I slowly set down my wine glass and rose to my feet. Pei Yang whispered beside me, "My lady, take it easy. Don't tear your father's training ground apart." I gave him a reassuring look. Then, I walked over. I didn't take the gun. Instead, I picked up the heaviest machete. Under the stunned gazes of everyone, I swung the axe and brought it down on the fake mountain beside the training ground, the one so thick it would take 2 people to wrap their arms around it. With a deafening crash, the fake mountain split clean in half. The entire training ground was as silent as a graveyard. I threw the axe to the ground and clapped my hands. "Father, spear techniques are too delicate for me. How do you like this instead?" General Lin's wine cup fell to the ground with a sharp crack, shattering into pieces. My days in the general's mansion were nothing short of chaotic. My so-called father, General Lin, went from disdain to shock, and then to wild joy, all in just 1 day. Now, the way he looks at me is as bright as if he had discovered a rare treasure, truly my own flesh and blood. With such strength and presence, "You're born to be a general." He started dragging me around every day, either to the military camp or to the horse farm. My so-called brothers, who initially kept their distance, eventually became my loyal little followers. "Sister, why don't you try this Fergana horse? Sister, I saved this new tribute scimitar from the western regions just for you." My husband, Pei Yang, has become the most out-of-place presence in the general's estate. His greatest daily physical activity is walking from our courtyard to the pavilion in the garden to read. General Lin has hinted to me more than once. He wants me to divorce this sickly man so he can find me a real man who can go to the battlefield and kill enemies. I crushed a blue brick into powder. "Father, what did you say?" "The wind is too loud. I couldn't hear you clearly." General Lin immediately fell silent. My son Pei Heng has become the little pitiful one in the general's residence. Every day, he had to face a group of muscular cousins. They enthusiastically invited him to lift stone locks and wrestle. Pei Heng hid behind me every day, trembling with fear. "Mother, save me. They want me to recite military strategies while holding a horse stance." I dragged Pei Heng in front of Pei Yang. "Keep your son in check." Pei Yang set down his book and said to Pei Heng unhurriedly, "Heng, have you forgotten what your mother taught you? If you can't win by force, use strategy. They are simple-minded and strong-limbed, the perfect practice targets for you." Pei Heng's eyes lit up. The next day, He had his cousins running around in circles, and in the end, they all fell into the frozen lake. General Lin was so angry he was fuming. But when he saw the sly smile on Pei Heng's face, so much like Pei Yang's, he couldn't bring himself to scold him. Meanwhile, things were far from peaceful at the Prime Minister's residence. As soon as she entered the minister's residence, she managed to make my father, Minister Shen, beam with joy. She could play the zither, play chess, compose poetry, and paint. Minister Shen would praise her to everyone he met. "This is truly my daughter," Shen eyed, cultured, reasonable, gentle, and virtuous. But soon, he couldn't laugh anymore. Because Shen Wen's husband Hu Cheng and her children were practically human-shaped huskies, the first time Hu Cheng met Minister Shen, he enthusiastically gave him a bear hug that nearly broke the minister's waist. His sons mistook the king proti I had planted for weeds and pulled them all out. He treated my collection of weapons as scrap metal, intending to melt them down. Minister Shen's study became the hardest hit area. Either the inkstone was smashed, or treasured ancient books were torn up and used as toilet paper. Minister Shen was so furious that he took to his bed and consumed 10 doses of heart-saving pills. He finally experienced the pain I had inflicted on him back in the day. In fact, it was even worse. That day, while I was competing in an archery contest at the military camp, another imperial edict arrived from the palace. The emperor was hosting a flower-viewing banquet in the palace and specifically requested the two of us mismatched couples to attend. I have a bad feeling about this. This banquet feels like a trap. The flower-viewing banquet is set in the imperial garden. I am wearing a riding outfit prepared for me by the general's residence. Among the noble ladies with their tinkling jade ornaments and flowing sleeves, she stood out like a sore thumb. Shen Wen, on the other hand, was dressed in the splendid attire carefully prepared by the Prime Minister's residence. Among the family members of the military officials, she looked like a white swan that had mistakenly wandered into a pack of wolves. The moment the four of us appeared, we became the center of attention. Countless gazes, some curious, some sympathetic, some gloating. His gaze swept back and forth over us. My husband, Pei Yang, still looked as if he might stop breathing at any moment, yet he stood firmly by my side. Shielding me from half of the stairs, General Hu Cheng stood like an iron tower, protecting Shen Wen beside him. Any gaze that dared to approach was met with a glare from him. The banquet began with music, dance, and an atmosphere of celebration. The Empress looked at us with a beaming smile. "I've heard that Lady Shen and Lady Lin have now returned to their respective positions. I wonder if you've grown accustomed to your lives." Shen Wen stood up and gracefully performed a curtsy. "Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. This humble subject's wife is doing well in every way." Her words were proper, but I noticed her hands trembling slightly within her sleeves. I curled my lips and stood up as well. "Very well. I can eat and sleep soundly, strong enough to take down an ox in a day." The entire hall fell into silence. The Queen's smile froze for a moment. Sitting beside her, the lady of Anli Marquis, the one whose younger brother I had beaten up, suddenly spoke up. "Mrs. Lin certainly speaks her mind, but such words and actions might be a bit inappropriate, don't you think?" "Oh, so now I'm Mrs. Lin again." Before I could speak, Pei Yang gently tugged at my sleeve. He smiled slightly at Lady Anli. That smile sent a chill down one's spine. "You jest, Lady Marquis. My wife was merely speaking the truth. What could be improper about that?" As he spoke, he was seized by a fit of coughing so violent it seemed he might pass out at any moment. Lady Anli was left speechless, her face turning ashen with rage. A censor stepped forward and cupped his hands toward Shen Wen. "Madam Shen, I have heard that you grew up in the general's residence, so you must be quite knowledgeable about military formations and strategies. With the northern border in a state of urgent conflict, I wonder if you have any valuable insights." This was clearly a deliberate challenge. Everyone knew that Shun Wen was a delicate and scholarly woman. Shun Wen's face instantly turned pale. She looked at Hu Cheng as if seeking help. Hu Cheng was so anxious he was scratching his head and ears. He knew how to fight, but he can't say it. Just as Shun Wen was so embarrassed that he was about to cry, my husband, Pei Yang, spoke up again. He leisurely picked up his teacup and blew on the steam. Minister Wang, you are mistaken. Warfare is the art of deception. How can it be discussed casually in public? If you truly have valuable insights, they should be presented to His Majesty privately, not treated as child's play on the battlefield here. His words were flawlessly articulated. He not only helped Shun Wen out of a tight spot but also subtly mocked the censor for seeking attention. Censor Wang's face flushed red, and he sat back down in frustration. I looked at Pei Yang, feeling a bit of admiration in my heart. This guy, though physically weak, has a really sharp mind. But the trouble didn't end there, since we're talking about both literary and martial arts. Why not invite the two ladies to showcase their respective talents to entertain His Majesty and Her Majesty? It was the most favored eunuch Li by the Emperor's side. He looked at us with a smile, but there was ill intent in his eyes. May I ask Madame Shun to perform a dance for our entertainment, and Madame Lin to compose a poem on the spot? How about that? This was meant to make us lose face in public, asking Shun, a delicate woman, to wield swords and spears. You want me, a mere warrior, to compose poetry? Everyone is waiting to see us make fools of ourselves. Shun Wen's body swayed, almost losing his balance. I let out a cold laugh, ready to explode. Suddenly, a hand pressed down on my shoulder. It was Hu Cheng. This man, built like a bear, now wore a serious expression. He walked to the center of the hall, faced the Emperor, and knelt on one knee. Your Majesty, my wife has a delicate constitution, and wielding swords and spears might startle Your Majesty. I am willing to perform a set of fist techniques on her behalf. Without waiting for the Emperor's consent, he had already taken his stance and began executing the moves with vigorous force. His fist techniques were powerful and robust, earning a round of applause. Everyone's attention was drawn to him. Shun Wen watched his retreating figure, her eyes reddening. Eunuch Li's face was extremely unpleasant. He turned to me with a fake smile. Then, shall we invite Lady Lin to compose a poem? I stood up. The eyes of the entire hall once again focused on me. Pei Yang looked at me, his eyes not filled with worry, but with trust. I glanced around, observing those faces waiting to see me make a fool of myself. I cleared my throat and spoke clearly. I don't know how to compose poetry. The room erupted in laughter, but I changed my tone. I do know how to slaughter pigs. I drew the soft sword from my waist, its blade glinting as I pointed it at the Marquis of Anley, who had been laughing the loudest. The banquet today seems to have reached its peak. How about I put on a show for everyone, slaughtering a pig on the spot to liven things up? The Marquis of Anley's laughter caught in his throat. His face turned even uglier than a pig's liver. The entire imperial garden was as silent as death. The Emperor sat on his dragon throne, watching this farce unfold. He remained silent for a long time, then suddenly laughed. Ha 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 ha. He laughed so hard he doubled over. How fascinating, truly fascinating. He stood up and walked over to the four of us. Shenhua-eyed, Lin Wei, you've raised such fine daughters. He looked at me, then at Shun Wen. One is a general's daughter with a minister's spirit, the other a minister's daughter with a general's talent. Though misplaced for 28 years, each has grown into the person they should never have become, yet in the most remarkable way. I originally decreed that each of you should return to your positions, wanting to see if fate's jest could be corrected. It seems now that I was wrong. The Emperor took a deep breath. By my decree, from this day forward, there is no need to change anymore. No need to change anymore. So what was all the chaos and commotion we went through for over a month? The Emperor looked at the stunned expressions on our four faces. the smile at the corner of his lips deepening. What I mean is, you can live however you want, Shun Ruojing. If you want to keep the surname Shun, keep it. If you want to take the surname Lin, take it. If you want to live in the general's manor, no one will stop you. If you want to return to the Chancellor's residence, Minister Shun cannot drive you out either. Lin Suan, you are no exception. As for your husbands and children, the Emperor stroked his chin. I think it would be even better to merge the two families into one and become in-laws. Merge two families into one. Prime Minister Shun and General Lin exchanged glances, their expressions both quite remarkable. Have them become in-laws. That would be more unbearable than killing them. But the Emperor's word is final. Who would dare disobey? The flower viewing banquet ended on a sour note. The four of us walked along the path leaving the palace, exchanging silent glances. In the end, it was Pei Yang who broke the silence first. I think His Majesty's proposal is quite excellent. All three of us turned to look at him. He said slowly, two families become one. From now on, Pei Heng will have two grandfathers. One will teach him to read, the other will teach him to fight. A perfect blend of literary and martial arts is just around the corner. Hu Cheng slapped his thigh. That's right. My boys should also be properly disciplined by Minister Shun. They can't remain illiterate any longer. I exchanged a glance with Shun Wen. In each other's eyes, we both saw a hint of relief. To be honest, we've both been exhausted during this period. I miss the days at the Prime Minister's residence, where my father, though nagging, would always prepare my favorite Osmanthus cakes for me. I miss the quiet nights when Pei Yang read under the lamp while I practiced swordplay. Shun Wen felt the same way. She missed the rough but genuinely affectionate father and brothers in the general's mansion. She missed Hu Cheng, who, though lacking in romantic charm, would clumsily shield her from all storms. We were forcibly pushed into life paths that were not our own. Now, the Emperor has given us the right to choose. That night, the four of us held a historic meeting. The location is at the largest restaurant in the capital. Me, Pei Yang, Lin Suan, Hu Cheng. I spoke first. I don't want to return to the Prime Minister's residence, Lin Suan immediately said. I don't want to stay in the Prime Minister's residence either. Hu Cheng looked at Lin Suan with gentle eyes. Wherever you go, I'll follow. Pei Yang coughed twice and looked at me. My lady, so will I. All right, here comes the problem. Neither of us wanted to stay at each other's home. Where can we go then? How about, Pei Yang suggested, we buy another house right between the two mansions. The four of us can live there. Hu Cheng's eyes lit up. That's a great idea. It's close to my parents, and also close to your father. Oh no, I mean close to Shun. Lin Suan hesitated a bit. What about the children? I said, bring them all over. The older ones will look after the younger ones. The scholarly ones will teach the martial ones, and the martial ones will protect the scholarly ones. If anyone dares to bully our children, they'll have to answer to my axe. Pei Yang added. Whoever dares to gossip behind my back, let them ask my pen if it agrees. And so the matter was settled. The four of us pooled our money and bought a grand 5-courtyard mansion between the Prime Minister's residence and the General's estate. When Chancellor Shun and General Lin found out, their faces turned ashen. But there was nothing they could do. Even though she was their biological daughter, they couldn't control her. The day we moved was even more lively than the last time we changed homes. We brought over the children from both families. Pei Heng hid behind Pei Yang as soon as he saw Hu Cheng's sons.